It's the sound produced when a morbidly obese pigeon flies into the window of a foreclosed Old Navy. Drunk! It's the sound of a bottle of store-brand root beer falling off the shelf in a gas station mini-mart. And it may seem weird to bring up his ancestral name, but to quote Donald Trump, he should be proud of his heritage.
He certainly emerged as one of the sharpest political satirists in recent memory, and his show on HBO last week with John Oliver, it's a great comedically poignant presentation of issues that actually concern each and every person in this country, regardless of their political affliction or affiliation. Well, in fact, last night on the monumental 60 Minutes broadcast, John Oliver talked about the subjects that he covers on his show, and as you'll see in a minute, he also had some very choice words. You got to see this to share about America's reigning POTUS.
You tackle topics, hospice care, bail reform, organ donations. It's not your typical comedy fare.
No, I know those don't sound funny. It's because fundamentally they're not. But there are funny things about how entrenched some of those problems are. And sometimes I think comedy is the best, most illuminating way to talk about them.
Well, as proud purveyors of gallows humor, I guess we couldn't agree more. But John Oliver's comments took a decidedly darker turn when the topic turned to Trump. Unlike his recent treatment of Clarence Thomas, his sentiments last night for Trump, well, they were forebodingly unfunny. We'll show you that in just a second.
You seem to have few limits on how far you'll go to get a laugh.
With Clarence Thomas, the main point with that was saying that there are not enough guardrails on people giving the money. I can prove that to you by offering this guy $1 million a year to get the off the Supreme Court. That should be a crime. The very fact that it isn't is a problem. And that felt like the most visceral way to prove that fact.
I don't know, maybe his British wit makes him an acquired taste for some people, but his words have weight because of the passion with which he produces his thought-provoking show and the depth to which he and his staff research their subject matter. It's really unmatched by any TV show or content creator out there.
I've seen your show described as satirical journalism, investigative comedy. How would you describe it?
In general, it is just a rigorously researched comedy show, both because we want it to be right and for self-preservation purposes. We don't want to be sued into oblivion.
So last night on 60 Minutes, the often seriously funny John Oliver, he shared a personal and bold statement about Donald Trump that is both provocative as well as may presage what could lie ahead. We're about to run it right now, and as you'll see, what it is not is funny.
Last season, you told your viewers, do not vote for Donald Trump.
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and say that that is not a partisan thing to do, to say don't vote for Donald Trump. I think it's good advice.
But more than 77 million people voted for Donald Trump. Does your show speak to them?
I really hope it speaks to some of them, yes, because most of those main stories that we talk about are not actually party political. Those are lasting problems that have been there before the last 2 or 3 presidents and may well be there for after the next 2 or 3.
If you were to look into your crystal ball, what's next?
Other than living in the president's gulags in the future, that's what my crystal ball is showing me right now.
Well, Jagger, I certainly know you've said it many times before. John Oliver is the living Jedi master of poignant put-downs and searing gallows humor, the kind we love at Occupy Democrats. But the rope-burn comedy that he crafts, it trods the same self-reflective social commentary path that his predecessors before him stomped upon. We're talking about cut-ups like George Carlin, Hunter S. Thompson, and Mark Twain. But Oliver's true brilliance, at least to me, is in his personal appeal and disarming charm that so often hides the heat of his tear-inducing comedy.
You do love to poke fun at America.
Yeah.
Does it trouble you that some people think that criticizing this place means you don't love it?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's utterly absurd. I think you can criticize something because you love it and you want it to get better.